All righty. Going down the list. Why don't I just start with you, Greg? You got any updates or something to show us?
I do for the first time in 2 years. It's something that's not related to a building. Okay, so there's my Danish fishing boat. Let's see if we can get them. So I'll talk about this a little bit. Last time I presented this, there were almost 4 strakes completed. And I've added just the last board here on the 4th strake and then the 5th strake on both sides. So that's as far as I've gotten, but at least it's progress. It's the first progress in 2 years. So I'm happy about that. But I'm also disappointed in how things have gone. I've said before when people spoke up, don't apologize. And I'm not apologizing. I'm just pointing out where things have gone wrong because it's constructive, I guess, to learn from other people's mistakes. And that would be great, but the problem is I don't know exactly where I went wrong, so it would be hard for me to tell you how not to duplicate my mistakes. The worst of it, we've discussed like what makes a good model or what makes a bad model, and one thing that keeps coming up is symmetry. So asymmetry would stand out quite easily. And I've been looking at this model off and on for a long time, and something always seemed off, and it was quite obvious. I don't know why it didn't leap out to me, but one strake was higher than the other on the opposite side. And I was extremely frustrated by that because I worked so hard and I measured not twice, not 3 times, but probably 10 times. How did I manage when I finally glued it in place to get it off? I don't know. I think the problem is that I cut the gains on these. It's a lap straight model, so you chisel away a sloped edge on the back side of one board and the inside of the another board, and they overlap and they come together. I think what happened was that I cut the gains either too narrow or too wide, and I would fit the board up to match whatever I'd carved, but that threw it off the mark it was supposed to go to. But some of them were so far off that even that wouldn't explain it. So, like I said, I'm quite confused, and I was really frustrated because I know the boat's not going to be perfect, but I wanted it to be quite good, if not perfect, and it certainly wasn't up to my standard. But I also wasn't willing to rip the boards off and start over again because it's a lot of work to mill the wood down, get it the right shape, drill all those holes, put on them all in all of my little fake nails. And I wasn't willing to redo it. Um, Not if I could hide it well enough. So I just clamped on a board that was matched the edge here and then sloped down to where it needed to be and carved with a razor blade along there to try and fair in how it would be, how it should be, the correct shape. And it's hidden well enough for me. You'd have to really look hard and know what you were looking for to see it. But if you looked hard enough, you would be able to see that, there's a bit of a change in the direction around here. It's not a perfectly smooth curve. And that bums me out because that's one of the more important things in a ship model for me is having nice fair lines, and my lines aren't fair. And on that same theme, I'm a bit disappointed with change the this doesn't have the resolution I thought it would. Oh, it'll help if I stop mirroring my video. There we go. When I was measuring for these laps, this doesn't have the resolution I was hoping it would. Like you can see the joint here. When I did this board, I faired it well beyond the seam on each side. So this board, I faired it out to here, and this board, I faired it out to here to avoid having it kind of dip in the middle. Because you can have two fair lines that don't, if you don't fair them together, they're not going to be fair at that point. And I knew that, and I worked against it, and there's still somehow or another a bit of a heart shape in here, a knuckle. This one is a bit better. Fortunately, that edge will be only visible on the inside where it's a bit harder to see, but so like I said, I'm pointing out these things like for instruction, make sure that you fair beyond the intersection. And I'm also pointing out that despite knowing that, it somehow didn't come out quite right. But anyway, overall, I think I'm happy enough with it. And yeah, got to be a bit of a, probably not be able to see that. Oh yeah, you can. After I cut it away, there's a bit of a hole there. And obviously that will not do. And I had the same problem back here. There was a big gaping hole, but a combination of wood glue and sawdust from the same material, it blends in pretty well. It's actually pretty hard to see. And even though the wood looks nice, this is eventually going to get painted anyway. So that's why I say it's good enough. The inside may or may not be painted. That's why I'm still using fairly nice looking wood as opposed to, something cheap like poplar or bass. But at any rate, this is the halfway point. There's 10 strakes, and now I've finished 5 of them. So a bit of a milestone there. Yeah, that's that.
You seem to be beating yourself up over what I would conceive as, fairly minor points. I mean, I run up against the same things, but when you finish it and you get more done, the minor errors that you claim will slowly fade into the background as more and more is built on. Because right now you're focused on the micro, and yeah, I mean it's nice to think that you're going to do everything perfectly, but don't beat yourself up too
wouldn't be
much.
perfect, and I'm not being argumentative, but it's kind of funny to hear that come from someone like you that really gets down into the details. But like I said,
Well,
this is the biggest part of the whole model for me is I love a set of really nicely faired lines on a boat, and I know it's fine enough in the end, but it's a bit frustrating because I worked so hard at it, and if I knew where I'd gone wrong, I'd be less upset. The problem is I'm not even sure where I went wrong. How in the heck did it get that way? But
well, embrace the old saying, a good modeler knows how to hide their mistakes.
Absolutely. Your lines are good. In 2 strikes, you won't even see it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, as I was working on things like this, I'm worried about those details. I asked myself, what did the original builders of the boat do? Did they cover up this kind of mistake? Did they even make this kind of mistake?
Well,
It's a lot easier on
Absolutely
full
not.
scale, and you can't
Yeah.
cover up a mistake like some of them that I've made because the boat would sink.
well, I tell you, I've seen some small boats that were straked similar to
Yeah.
this, and you see things in them, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
No, you're making it more perfect than the original was.
Probably.
Greg, can I say something to you akin to this? Can you hear me?
Sure.
A while back, I belonged to the Rochester Woodworker Society, and we had treated to a tour of the Stickley furniture factory. I don't know if you know that brand, but
I
it's
have
big
some.
up in our area. They had what I'd call a off route on their assembly line. They make what I call white goods. I have a white goods line, and then based on finish particulars, they keep that line going. But they shuttle off their furniture, and I've seen where you could not stick your fingernail in a joint that didn't pass their inspection. Well, they don't build it over again. They put it on a modify line, and they in miracle form managed to patch it that you'd never know it. And as was said, when you build the entire model, all that stuff gets in the rear view mirror. Don't beat yourself up.
Well, yeah, I want to say again, I did say that it's good enough and that I was willing to do some of this patchwork. I pointed out where I filled it in with the glue and the dust. And I even said that it's really hard to see. The frustration only comes from having worked hard to avoid it and not understanding where the mistake came from, so I can't avoid it the next time. It's fine if you learn from your mistakes. My frustration is that I don't appear to be learning from them, because I made the same mistake again after having done it once. I use this phrase. It's one of my new favorite ones, just because it's funny. I don't make the same mistake twice. I make it 3, 4, 5, 6 times just to be sure. But no, I'm not beating myself up too badly.
You're
And I am
working with
pleased. I
wood.
am pleased with the overall look of it. I mean, that's a nice looking
Right, you're
shape.
working with wood,
Yeah.
and wood has its own behavior. You're working with hand tools. You're not building a clock. I'll end it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got a tour of a mega yacht once under construction, and the bed was in the center of the main cabin, and the drawers were on the outside on both sides, kind of a big U shape. And the face of the cabinets, or the Chester drawers, was like in a wave pattern, all made out of wood. And the guy said, all right, go along there and find a seam in the wood for me. And I went along and along, and says, missed it. And I went back and I looked, and you could not see where the wood was jointed at all. It was just so incredibly perfect. That's real craftsmanship. And it must have taken that guy a lifetime to get to that point. I understand that. And I understand it's a journey. I'm not here apologizing or saying, woe is me. Just like I said, bit frustrated that I can't find the cause of the mistake. In manufacturing, I don't know if you guys know Deming, the guy who revitalized the Japanese car industry. The whole point was to take measurements and figure out where the error came from and go back and improve it. And I haven't figured out where I can go back and not make the same mistake again. But I know in the end it's going to look fine.
Yeah, look at it this way, Greg. It's only off in 1/4, so you got 3/4 that are looking good. So, like, make the adjustment on that 1/4 that you're not happy with, and I say in 2 strokes, you can work it out, and you'll never see it again. I don't believe.
Agreed.
I don't need to point out my mistakes. I got John for that.
Yeah, that's right. And I got Tim.
All righty, Greg. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, that got
I'll be
drawn out
looking for it
longer than
now.
I intended, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we're not going to have a whole lot more to talk about after the show and tell. I don't think we're going to have
Yeah.
a presentation
It,
today, so
it
we can
was a,
expand this a bit.
it was a worthwhile discussion. So
No, absolutely. All right, John, you got anything for us?
no, I don't have anything. Sorry.
You're a team player.
My stuff is at the museum.
Oh, well, what's that behind you? Yeah.
It's pretty far away.
Oh,
It's
okay.
work in progress.
All righty. All right. I'm just going to go down the list here. The other John.
For me?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Next
I'm
month.
working on an 18th century ship, the Essex. One of the models that I picked up during one of the auctions that we had. And just starting, I got the whales on, got the keel on, put the battens on, so I'm ready to start the rest of the planking, secondary planking. If the internals are done, pretty much, I'll be rigging the cannons, but only after the secondary planking is completed. It's supposed to be from 1765. The model itself was produced in 77, I think. And I think it's a Euro model. So it's all in Italian, and God knows how many sheets of instructions there are. But it's slow going, but I think it's going to be okay in the end.
Is this the American frigate Essex?
No, no, English.
English.
Yeah,
Who's talking, please?
John
John
Proudley.
Proudley.
I'm sorry.
John Proudley.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, John.
Sure.
Well, we're not going to talk
Okay, I'm
about
going
his for
down the
half an
list.
hour too.
But it keeps shifting. Stuart, I think you're next up. Let's see. What do you got?
I don't have anything.
All righty. Don.
I was too lazy to walk out to the 28-degree shop this morning, so I didn't turn the heat on. I am working on a 100-year-old boat that is no longer with us. It was an open deadrise boat that worked the pound net industry. The model I'm building will have the pile driver on the side where they would go out and drive the piles through the pound nets. I'm trying to find decent pictures of the pile driver. Now, the picture I have shows it, but it's not very detailed. So I'm, going through the weeds trying to find a couple nice pictures of that so I can figure out. I talked to some guys that worked her as young men. They're not young anymore. And I don't have any plans. So, my dimensions were, she was about 40, 41 feet stem to stern, beam 11 and a half, 12 feet. So that's kind of what I'm working with. It's an unusual boat. The hull kind of resembles a skipjack because instead of having a wheel, there's a tiller. But again, she was an open boat, kind of pretty, and she met her end sometime in the. They're not even sure. She went to the burn pile on Gwen's Island. So, but she's a pretty cool boat called the Maid King. So I pretty much finished with the hull. Then I'm going to start doing details and figure out this pile driver thing. But I'll have that at the next meeting, hopefully, with some of my other little problems with it. So anyhow, that's all I have.
Thanks, Don.
There's a fellow named Glenn McClure who did a book on the Waterman
Yep.
for a long period of time. And you might want to get in touch with him. He was a photographer.
Okay.
Glenn McClure.
All right.
Righty. Mort, how about you? Got something for us today?
I haven't done that much, but what I did was I'm starting to put in the captain's cabin petitions and the petition between the sleeping quarters and his great cabin. I have the back window bench seat put in. And I made some furniture for the captain's cabin, a couple of dressers, 2 desks, some trunks. And I have the petition for the, I have to finish it up for the sleeping quarters and the great cabin. And that's about where I am right now. It's been going slow, but it's moving along. And that's about it.
Which ship is that? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Diana, an Artois class 38-gun frigate that was built in 1795.
Okay.
And Mort, that
Very
model
good.
was rescued from a auction, wasn't it? And so you-
Yeah, from the Jersey Ship Club. It was $5. It's my second Diana. I'm gonna expose, like I did with the Victory, the part of the quarter deck, and show the interior, like I showed you, the captain's cabin, his sleeping cabin. I have to make a bunk, a dining table, and still make some more furniture for the great cabin. And I'll leave I'm not sure which side of the core of the deck open, so you can see the upper gun deck also with all the cannons rigged. And I'm going to try and put in the manger also.
I really like it when some of these old ships are rescued, that are partially built or that the builder never finished, and you get it to completion. That's great.
It was from an estate, but the good part is there were a lot of parts missing, so I could get some more from Caldercraft and Cornwall Model Boats. They sent me the parts that were missing because I still have my original Diana plans and part list from the instruction books. So that helped a lot.
Good.
Very good.
Thank you, Mort.
My pleasure.
Ryland, you got anything, any progress, any starting, any thinking about
No, I'm
starting?
still in that slump, so hopefully I'll dig myself out.
Still in a slump, well, maybe the snow behind you will encourage you to do something. Dave, how you doing there? Got anything for us today?
I do. I'll try to hold it in front of the camera, but I'll share my screen and show some pictures of it, which will be easier to see. Back at the March auction, I got this, and I thought it would be a neat project. I didn't actually use any of the kit pieces. So Caelen, this is yours. If you haven't built it, it would be a great first model. If you have, it'll go back and be recirculated at the club auction.
I'm gonna build something like that too.
What?
I can build something. I can build it too.
Okay, it's yours. I'll bring it to the meeting next time. But anyways, this is it. It came out nicely. It's the same model, but I replaced all the wood. And this probably is not very visible in the camera. So give me a second to share my screen and I'll show some pictures. Everyone seeing the boat?
Yes.
Okay.
Very nice.
I basically replaced the wood. It's in pear, boxwood, and holly. And it worked out to be a pretty neat project. Hold on a second while I get there we go. Side view. And then bow and stern. I did not show a straight on picture of the bow. I probably should have. It would have made Greg feel a lot better. Because when I finally got down and square to it, and I hadn't checked it that carefully at the time I was planking, one of the planks is off. I'm going to live with it and not worry about it. These were built in people's backyard. It's visible in a picture, but it's probably less than a scale inch off. And I can't imagine that people building it in the backyard were that precise.
Really, really clean, really nice looking.
Thank you.
What is the scale, David?
It's
What was it
124.
again?
124, half inch to the foot.
Dave, what boat is it?
It's a Lowell Grand Banks Dory, turn of the century.
Right.
All righty. All right, Dave, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me see who's.
Unshare my screen.
Are you done now?
I am. I'm going to unshare the screen.
Oh, okay. Let me see who have I? Unfortunately, this list keeps shifting. I mean, let me see, who did I miss? Okay, Tim.
Yeah.
How about you? What's
Yeah, I
up?
do have something. I've got the hull of my can you see me here? Of my
I need to get the spotlight
Gonna
switched.
share.
there we go. I don't have a share screen or anything like that.
There you go.
The hull of the it's the kid, the blue jacket kid actually, but I'm building it as the Johnston. This is so as far as I've gotten so far with that. I got some more pieces in from Blue Jacket this week because this had a double 5 torpedo launchers on it, and whereas the kid, which this kid is, only had 1, so there was a lot of difference in it. So I got to do a lot of changes to it, but the hull's basically the same. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
How's that whaleboat of yours
I
doing?
got the sonar dome underneath there, and actually I've got the little piece up here in the bow for the where they ran the outer boards off for minesweeping and all that. So I'm trying to do it as accurate as possible. Stuff that the kit doesn't show and have. So that's where I stand with that.
How's that whaleboat of yours?
It's coming pretty good. It's at the museum right now. I got the vents on it that you gave me. They're
Good, good.
and painted, and I'm getting closer. But other than that, that's where we sit.
All righty.
Will you
Thank
have
you.
the whale
Thank
back
you.
ready for the ODO in Richmond?
No,
Well, you'll bring it out anyway, won't you? Show.
either that or this, one of the two.
How about
Probably
both?
neither. Yeah. Pardon me?
How about both?
I don't know.
Well, we got all of Washington's tables to fill up too, don't we?
Yeah.
Good. All righty. Joe Lorenzo, what you got? Anything?
I keep promising to show you the Niagara in its case. I did finish the case base. I used the methodology of the Chicago Deadeyes that they tutored me on, but I'm missing stanchions, and I've got to do something because of the material I use, which I'll explain later. I'm going to make a commitment that you'll see it in February. But I got waylaid with Christmas gifts here.
No excuses. All righty. Mr. Cork, what you got for us today? Anything? John?
John has no video and no microphone.
Oh, okay. All righty. Yeah, I'm just going down the list here. Mr. Jones, how about you?
No, sir, not at this time. Thank you.
All righty.
Gene, can I do a tale
Yeah.
with no?
Pardon?
Recently, we've all had the experience of one of us having a huge collection of ships and trying to find, or in some cases the widows, sadly, trying to find a place for these ships. I have a solution that's working for me quite well. My model shop, which used to be a spare bedroom, I hope we don't have any spares coming anytime soon, has about 12, 14 unfinished models in it. But for the past 10 years or so, I've been doing other people's models. Now, someone comes in to me with a model and says, can you fix my boat? Happened fairly recently. Well, it was last March, in fact. Brought a 106-year-old sloop that has partial cutter rigging that was built in 1/65th scale by the son of two staffers from the British East India Company. It's an old ship. The hull was sound. The spars were sound. The sails were beautiful, kind of a silk linen blend with the actual sailcloth seams woven into the sails, bolt ropes, splices in this thread-like line, but all of the rigging was gone except for the shrouds. The deadeyes were gone. I spent 200 and some hours restoring that ship, and I was pleased with the result, but not flabbergasted with the result. I didn't feel that it was one of my best efforts because there was so much other little stuff had to be done. Nonetheless, here's the point. The fellow from Annandale, Maryland, found me, brought his ship down, it's 156-mile drive, came in and picked it up on the 20th of December. Then he wrote a check. Here's where the good part comes in. He took the ship home. He wrote a check to the Mariners Museum's General Fund for $1,000. That's a good-sized check, but I've had checks for up to $3,500 to Mariners General Fund. I'm a volunteer. When people say, but what do you charge? I say, what part of volunteer did you miss? The fact that through me, this fellow presented a $1,000 check to the Mariners Museum and came to his surprise to be a member of the Bronze Door Society at that level. And it's a ship that no longer is in my workroom. That's happened a number of times. So I have very few ships to get rid of when the time comes. I might recommend that you let people know, if you have time for it and space for it, that you can do conservation or restoration or complete rebuilds, as I've done a couple of times. My hands aren't as steady as they used to be. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be. My hearing's not as good as it used to be. Most of that's because I'm 80 years old. So somebody's got to take over at some point in time. And it does kind of clear the dockyards when you can give it back to its owner. Just a food for thought. I do have some pictures, and I'll get them over to John. Perhaps they're not the greatest pictures in the world, but it wasn't the greatest project in the world. But it did come out looking pretty good. That's all I got.
All right, Ron, thank you. Mr. Caelen, what have you been up to?
On some models I have, like a lot. So far, here is one of the ships that I got the last meeting. I sanded down the hull a little with one of the sanders that I received. As you can see. I tried using a little drill that Mr. Cheevers recently got me. Kind of worked. And then I started using a sander, which I kind of started from here, which ended to here, kind of like this. Next, I have this. Hold on, let me get it out. Model of the CSS Virginia that I recently actually got from Santa, actually. I also sanded down the hull a little. I got the stern right here, and then trying to get this part right here. You can see there's like a big bump at the front. Yeah, so far it's doing so good. And then I got this model of the Alchabas so far.
What is that?
Alchabas. It's from Ochre. So far earlier today, I planked some of the deck. You can see kind of right there. And yeah. Last but not least, giant Tamiya model of the USS Missouri. So far, I got the propellers. I had to drill holes with little drill bits for the rudders. And then I kind of got the details on the guns. They can easily come up and they can spin around. So far, this part needs some gluing. But other than that, that's everything. Thank you.
Well, you've got a lot of irons in the fire there. Keep up the good work.
I was just
Very
about to say, he's
impressive.
taking after Gene and John.
Very impressive.
20 boats at a time.
Very good, Caelen. It's good to see you. Did you get a lot of snow up your way?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, early this morning, my brother actually saw because there's like a ton of snow. Like the entire road is white.
Good. You'll have something to do today. Shoveling. All right. Thank you, Caelen. Good to see you. Mike Pelland, you got anything for us today?
A little bit. Been building out my wood shop in the garage. It's about 75% done now. I was able to get the skipjack repairs done. Get a new boom. Placed and doing the standing rigging, I had to do a bunch of the running rigging because I had to end up cutting it short to get it off the model. Also added cleats to the rail. The kit calls for the uphauls to be tied to the standing rigging. And I decided that was kind of silly because you're taking the sails up and down all the time, going in and out of port at least. So I decided to add cleats, and now that those repairs are done, moving's over with. I'm back to working on the longboat, and hope to have this completed by the next meeting and the masts up, and then move on to a new project.
Very good.
Maybe I'll have some workshop photos when I'm completed. Trying to compete with Greg, and except for I don't have a whole building.
In time. All righty. Let me see who's Mr. Zinnen. How about you? Unmute yourself there, please, so we can hear you.
All right.
There we go.
Hit share.
All righty. We got you now.
All right. Finally dug into the CSS Virginia from Blue Jacket and realized that it didn't have a lot of detail. So as I mentioned, I'm just learning how to paint, stain, upgrading it a lot, or trying to as a beginner, adding the ceiling, the rafters, and learned how to copper a hull, or tried to copper a hull. And I'm learning that models break. I've broken the rudder off 2 times. Then you see I have to put it back on. And then
Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt a second? Can you undo your blur feature because it's obliterating the picture, the image of your model?
Where's the blur, folks?
It should be
Video?
in video.
You're right.
Oh, blur my, okay. How's that?
Yeah, oh, there, now we can
All
see
right,
it.
gentlemen, this
It's
is,
still showing on your screen though.
oh, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Like I said, I've learned to copper hulls. I'm learning how to paint. I'm learning how to stain. Um, Added the rafters, the gratings. You all mentioned, trying to find some of the 3D imprints because I'm surprised at the lack of detail in this Blue Jacket model. Um, Terrible mistakes. I got walnut, I think it was walnut, cut all the boards to make the iron, did the math wrong, so they're twice as big as they should be. And then I got tired. I'm learning when you're tired, stop working. After putting how many hours to put in 250 of these boards, like you guys know the detail, I caulked it. And I did the whole thing just so I could have the lines to show the iron sides. And so I kind of ruined the model because then I had to go in and learn how to scribe straight lines, which is a little beyond my skill set. Um, and so finally yesterday I settled. I was trying to learn how to use metallic paints and stuff like that. But the interesting part is you were talking about trying to find 3D printing, I think, at 2 meetings ago. And I found a gentleman in England, and he did the 192 scale. So in all my gun ports, I will have the exact scale cannons and the exact cannons in the gun ports. I know, ridiculous detail. So he actually does 28, if I can put it over here, the 28 resin, it kind of fell, and it's the 7-inch brook on the carriage that was in the Virginia, and I'll have it on the base. And I'm learning how to do a base. I'm learning how to do that. All you guys talk about, but on each gun port, I'll have the 6 9-inch Dahlgrams, exact to scale, stuff like that. So I'm really learning. Like I said, I have to learn to paint. I'm trying to learn how to water it down. I'm learning my tools. Then the other big mistake was it cost me about 30 or 40 hours is I was learning how to use one of these pencil grinders. And after putting all the sides on that looked like the burn, I made the gun ports 3 times too big. So then I had to rip off all the planking, all the iron sides I put on, and try to redo it. And they're still a little big. But if you put the scale cannons in, they don't look that big. So little things like that as I'm learning, y'all mentioned it's all in the detail and the research and things like that. So I'm having fun trying to research and I'm learning, like you said, I use an RC stand. Well, Bob said put felt in it because I've now scratched and dented the copper hull, because I've had to redo the sides like 30 hours of sanding and scraping because of the grooves have bumps in them and stuff. So I'm doing this really learning to do the basics, how to stain, how to paint, how to sand, how to grind and how to copper. So I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Not as many F-bombs as I thought, but as I said, I'm learning the patience of how to paint, step away when you're tired. And like Greg, as Bob, my best friend here, said, I picked a terrible hobby for being blind, crippled in my right hand, and being a perfectionist, a West Pointer, and learning how to do it because I just look at all the imperfections, but it looks pretty good from a distance. So I'm trying to find the positive approach but I'm learning. And the cool part about this is on eBay, I live on the water, and I got into this on March 8th last year when I realized the monitors sell right by my house. And so that's why I've become a sort of learning as much as I can of Civil War naval history, even though I went to West Point and I can describe all the battles to you, land battles. But I was able to get for almost nothing the Dumas 44-inch Virginia and the monitor. So I'm doing all these models to learn because I'm gonna have to like build the whole casement and everything. Not like you all do. At least it has the plastic hull. And then I'm gonna have to build the whole upper and the bulkheads and everything. So the goal is hopefully not this year, but in 2026, I can have a little RC monitor and Merrimack running around on either on the back bay or in front of my house. But I'm learning, and I appreciate seeing what you all do, and you talk about how you do things because You know, everything, every time I do something, it's really new. You know, Bob, which Bob shows you, he's just can do anything mechanically like you guys. But you know, just when you make a mistake and it costs you 20 hours, you know, because you made a mistake, you know, and then and then finally yesterday I said enough is enough. I can't fix these lines. You're gonna see the imperfections, and I darkened it a little bit because the burnt iron just was. And I have a question. Are you supposed to filter paint? I swear to God, the metallic paint has bumps in it. I think it's the metallic chips. But and they'd get all every.
It wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, you can get a fine mesh to help filter out some of those little clumps and things. And, you know, I mean, that happens to any paint. You know, it dries and little flecks get mixed in there, depending on how, you know, fine your airbrush is. Yeah, it can clog and spit. And yeah, it's not
And
a
that's
bad
another thing
idea.
is I have a good airbrush now in the system, but I did this all by hand painting because I'm trying to learn how to do that. And you can tell the huge difference. And you really got to water your paints down if you're not airbrushing. And so it's one thing. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get the airbrush a little more convenient and start to use that for a lot of the painting because, well, like I said, it's been a tremendous growth experience. You know, cutting photo etch, putting metal around smokestacks, stuff like that. So I'm learning a little of everything. So this will be rough, but it's been fun to learn and make decisions, you know, because you want it to be perfect. And then you keep trying to do it. And then it's like point of no return, spend 3 hours to improve it 5% each time. It's like, okay, enough is enough. This is a learning project. So, but as
You're
all
not
I
going to
do,
make progress. Well, you're not going to make any progress without some back steps.
So they're all learning projects.
but it's so frustrating. You know, you take the sides and you did it intentionally and it was all pretty and you have the rafters and all of my upgrades on it. And then I caulked it like an idiot. You know, it's like, oh my God. You know, I understand making the gun ports too big because I was learning how to use a pencil grinder and that was a little fun and got a little crazy. So learn lessons, but like you said, it's fun and I really enjoy, you know, these meetings and seeing you guys and watching your work. It's fun to see. But I'm enjoying the hobby.
Hopefully next month you'll bring it in and show it in person.
Well, yeah, it should be done because and then I'm gonna the other one I was doing, of course, at Canon. I'm doing a HMS Victory cross section. Canon's done. I've been trying to figure out. I bought the LEDs, and I want to kind of make it like a light end table type thing. So I'll be learning how to do electric, and I'm just trying to figure out the lantern. And of course, I'm airbrushing a lot of that, but to put in 2 lanterns and, you know, in the ship deck near the 32-pounder on the third level gun deck. But hopefully that will be done too. But that'll be an experience trying to see if I blow up electrocute the house or whatever with learning how to do that next. But that's it. But you say filter, is there a certain type of filter you use or cloth or sorry to take you
Well,
guys.
you know, I mean, depending on what kind of airbrush you have, I mean, there are a lot of little jars out there, for example, with a little filter attachment that goes over, you know, that fits in the jar.
Okay.
Or you can pre-filter it through a little funnel. You know, you can purchase. I think I purchased some from Micromark, perhaps. There was a series of little funnels with mesh screens in them in various sizes to help filter paint and stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gene, I'd like to add those filters, the filter funnels are good for something else too. Even with a brand new paint, it'll tell you whether you've thinned it to the right consistency for an airbrush. Use the finest ones, and once you can pour the paint through it, you thinned it enough for the airbrush.
Okay. All right. Because I was struggling with airbrush too. Okay. Thank you. Great idea.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're working with acrylics are notorious for clogging too. I mean, you know, right at the tip of the nozzle and stuff like that. So you have to constantly wipe the tip to make sure it's clear and stuff like that. So and it's just the nature of the paints too.
Okay, well, thank you. It's just, like I said, I'm enjoying it, and learning.
Good, good. Warren, what are you doing?
Can Bob show his?
So
Let me see.
Okay,
Warren, are you up?
yeah.
There you
No,
go.
Hold on.
Bob.
Bob was asking if his friend could show something, I think.
Oh yeah. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I missed that.
I thought he was in the Geico witness protection
I've
there
been
for a while.
involved in this is my first ship. So
Ah,
very Lori, it's 90, she's 90% done. I'm waiting for the pulleys to come in. They didn't come with the kit. Oh, I can't see it up there. Okay. But I'm learning, and this is the first one I built, and I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned from them.
Did I turn it off?
Did you turn it off?
who's sharing there?
That's Bob Coffeen, my good buddy.
Somebody changed the screen share to the desktop. It might be you, Bob. Are you moving?
Yeah, I did that by accident. How do I get back on the
Go down to
use
share.
the Teams?
Stop share.
Okay.
There we go. We got you now.
Okay, sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, but that's my first ship, my first attempt at building a ship.
It's like
Yeah.
more than an attempt.
What is it?
What?
What is it?
It's the Mare Nostrum fishing trawler. Oop, there goes my ropes. But I've learned a lot, and I just want to quickly share the next project that I'm working on, and that's the Swift 1805, and it's coming out a lot better. The hull. I'm learning to plank better and finish it, and I'm getting better on doing the details. So,
Very good.
thank you for letting me show it.
Oh, thank you. All righty, Warren. Now it's your turn.
Okay. Let me see.
Oh, no, I could have made it.
Oops. So that's the sloop Speedwell. It's coming along. Putting more frames up, sanding more. I've been sanding mainly on the aft and the bow and the aft frames now, getting them ready to start gluing up next. But it's slow. You glue a couple up and then let it sit with some squares holding, make sure everything's lined up right. So, and also went ahead and put together Lego Titanic over Christmas shutdown.
Huge.
Yeah, it's
how big is that thing?
I'd have to look it up to see how big, but it's big and it is heavy. It weighs a ton.
It's almost 4 feet long. I have one too.
Yeah. I mean, that cabinet, you can see how big that cabinet is. It's big. It's actually a decent looking kit once you get it done, surprisingly, for being a Lego.
My nephew built one. It's beautiful. It's really nice.
Yeah, I was impressed that it was more to look pretty realistic for being Lego.
Yeah, they did a nice job.
Yeah. So that's it.
All right, thanks, Warren. Before I go, is there anyone that I may have missed?
Well,
that has not or wants to share something?
Well, and also before you go, if you don't mind, since this is a Zoom meeting, and I need some artwork and pictures for the logbook. You guys who presented today, if you would email me a photo or two of what you presented and what you're working on so that I can put something in the logbook? I would appreciate it.
Can you send me your email or put it up?
I'll just tell it to you right now if you got a pencil and paper.
I'll post it in the chat.
Okay,
Well,
good.
I'll give it to it anyway. It doesn't matter. JF Cheevers, CHEEVERS at verizon.net. I certainly would appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Gene. I'd like to share some pictures of the Speedwell that Chuck has made. If
Oh, please, go ahead.
Okay. Can y'all see that? Whoops.
No.
It's starting to share. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Let me. Let's see. I don't know how to advance. There's more pictures that I've got, but I don't know how to advance them. What ship is that?
Arrow keys not work, Rylan?
What are y'all seeing there?
Roland, when you move your mouse over to the right-hand side of the screen, I was seeing an arrow pop up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, all the way over to the right side of the screen. I think there was an arrow that was popping up for you to advance it.
Okay.
Your right and left arrows or page up, page down not work?
Your screen share, okay.
Keyboard?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Let me stop share and start again.
I'm just using your keyboard. Should advance it, shouldn't it?
You have left and right arrows. Do those not work?
Oh, okay.
You have to click
Oh, there
on
we
the
go.
window.
There you go. All right.
There you go. Nice.
This is Chuck Speedwell. This was, he's done a whole lot more on it. But I just thought I'd share a few pictures. This is what Warren is going to achieve on his model.
Oh, very beautiful.
But, he's got, the chair.
Yeah, if I'm lucky.
Going too fast.
Wow.
But that is really a nice model. Checkerboards. I mean, this is all in scale, so you can imagine the size of it. The ship's cat.
Did you carve the cat?
But I mean, this is the work that Chuck does. It's just amazing.
And who is Chuck? I'm sorry.
Chuck Passaro. He's a ship modeler that runs Siren Ship Model Company. He produces kits.
Yeah.
And this is it's like a cottage industry. And this is a kit that he's producing. He sells it in chapters so that he's building the model himself, and he has his own CNC laser cutting facility. And he has a website where you can order blocks, ropes, all kinds of stuff.
That is some very nicely clean work.
Good work. Man, that is good.
Makes the best rigging line in the industry, the really good rigging line.
He's an amazing craftsman. Amazing.
Good Lord.
You just have to see it in person. I mean, it is really, and I hope he'll be here. He'll be in the Newport News area, hopefully, and for the IPMS National.
That's Siren, SYREN, right?
Siren, SYREN Ship Model Company. If you Google it, But you can buy this in a kit form, but like I said, it's sold in chapters.
Very expensive too.
Yeah, and this is 1/32 scale. I mean, it is huge. It's as big as Warren's, not Warren's, but Sean's model of the Winchelsea.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's about maybe 3 inches shorter than the Winchelsea. I think
But
it's close
Warren-
to it, but yeah.
Warren will have all of these carvings on his model.
Yeah, I've actually got the casting, the resin castings of those he did.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for a couple of other chapters to be released too. I've just got the first 2.
But it's absolutely a beautiful model.
You say it's really
How is-
expensive. What are we talking about?
This is a Speedwell.
You know, what did you say it cost?
Hate to think. I mean, I have not priced it out, but I've heard it's pretty expensive.
Chuck said by the end of everything, close to somewhere near 2,000.
Okay.
He'll be at the
And he
joint
pro-
clubs in April.
Now, how many chapters does he propose it to be at the end, or does he really know yet?
He doesn't know yet. The Winchelsea was up to, I think it was 15 or 16 chapters in that one. So I would assume this one's probably going to be around the same amount.
Interesting.
It's absolutely, I mean, he does remarkable work, and I've seen on Model Ship World, there are build logs of the Winchelsea and even the Speedwell, and I have yet to see a bad model. Everybody that's doing this, it's just, I think they exceed their own expectations of how they do their work. You just have to see that it's on Model Ship World.
Thank you, Ryland. Thank you. All righty. Well, I guess it's my turn then. Since nobody else wants to add, go ahead and start sharing. Let me see. All righty. Presuming everybody can see this,
Yes.
is it sharing properly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Progress on the Zircon. Here is a picture of the decking and some of the bulwark and the details on the inside of the bulwark. Oops, wait a minute. Let me.
You good? You good?
Okay, yeah, I did the same thing you did. I went full screen and then lost the ability to advance. Okay. After having done the decking, the next project was to build some screws. Here I turned the hub out of a piece of acrylic and cut one of the blade blanks out of brass. I proposed to then form them and then cast them in multitudes so that I can assemble the propellers. Here's a couple more of the blanks. I was fortunate enough to have drawings of the actual screws, so you can't really miss with documentation like this. So after having cut out the blades, this is a little tutorial, I guess, on how I made the propellers. As it turns out, I gave them a little bit of a basic twist to the plans in brass so that I could start forming them in an airfoil shape that each blade would have. Obviously, there's a left and right screw, so I had to set each of the basics screw blades opposite each other. Then an initial kind of fairing of the airfoil shape as a wing is. The propellers are the same side. The forward edge would have a kind of a curved. The aft side would be more flat. And then a little bit of Bondo to give it the correct shape to go with the drawings there. You can see obviously the airfoil shapes that the blades possess. And then after some priming and final shaping, I was ready to then make a mold to cast these up. I would need three of each blade and 2 hubs. Here's a mold. There it is cooking. And when I do molds, I do a pressure casting to crush any of the bubbles that usually occur. So I'll run it up to I run it up about 60 psi, but anything north of 30 psi is good enough to prevent bubbles from forming. And here are the molds and the results of the basic blades and propeller parts. I'll do this several times to get enough material to then assemble the propellers. And usually what I'll do is the next step, I'll assemble the blades. But in this case, instead of making another mold of the masters, I just went ahead and used these for the model itself. Here is a etched gun platform. There's for the 3-inch guns that the boat had to simulate the wood gratings. And finishing the forward deck, it was painted, so a lot of the details and stuff were covered up, but there was enough of the planking to be able to discern the run of the planking. And most of this area will be covered up anyway in details, in bits and parts. Here's another picture of the planking of the rest of the boat. A couple of hatchways. And here are the screws mounted. And I ended up painting the hull at this stage too. And that's the hull pretty much as it appears today, with all of the portholes covered over. They were all blanked over on the Zircon. I'm not sure why, but I guess they just didn't want glass. There's a forward end, and talking about symmetry and details, John will be the first to point it out, so I'll move along very quickly. And this pretty much brings me up to the hull. Then I moved on to the superstructure out of basswood and plywood. These are the rough forms. And it had several layers. Here's the bridge deck. Again, out of basswood and ferret in. A lot of details yet, but this is the basic form of the boat as it appears. The forward 3-inch gun mount and the hull and superstructures. And that's pretty much where I am as of this morning. That's the forward gun tub and how the grating will fit into it eventually as I get it ferret in and finished up. And that's pretty much where I am today.
Unbelievable. Gene, do you use a laser cutter?
Pardon?
Are you using a laser cutter on
For what?
like the blanking?
No, I just cut them all up on my burn saw. You know, just the width of the plank was I forget what it was. It was almost about 1/8 of an inch. So I was able to just rip the appropriate thickness of basswood into blanks and then just glued them down on edge. I didn't put any caulking or anything in it because the deck was going to be painted, so that wasn't going to be shown. All I wanted was to be able to, through the paint, see a little bit of the illusion of a wood planking under there, and the paint didn't obliterate all of it. The grain, a little bit of the grain would show through, so you knew there was planking there, as opposed to just a deck smooth surface. So that's pretty much. I do have a question for John, perhaps, regarding the lay of planking. I know that the lay of planking on the main deck was the yacht style, following the outline of the hull. But on the upper decks, would they have typically run the same yacht scheme, or would they have gone straight fore aft? I was unable to determine that from photos because the photos are not clear enough. But it kind of almost suggests as though the plank run was straight on the upper decks. Any thoughts on huh?
The only thing I can tell you is what we found when we made the model of the yacht Pawnee for the Virginia Pilots Association.
Mm-hmm.
The main deck plating and the foredeck plating, or planking, excuse me, followed the edge, the run of the edge of the hull, just like you did.
Correct.
And that's primarily because the edge of the hull and the edge of your bulkhead for your deck house were parallel, and so running it that way saves you a lot of nib joints and various things. Plus, it looks good. But what we found on the upper deck was that it did run fore and aft. So and there still was a king plank at the center, but then but it ran fore and aft, and that meant you had a lot less nibbed edges to make. So
that makes sense, because right. Because from what I could discern from the photos, although it's very hard to see because the resolution, it almost suggests as though it might have been fore aft, because there's very little turn, the hull, like you said, hull shape around the edge,
right,
and most of it is the superstructures above there too are fore aft. They're not right. Curved as the main cabin below deck was.
Right, and well, that's what we found on the Pawnee, and it was from roughly the same era. It also was a Cox and Stevens design, and so I think what you're doing is correct. I don't have the plans anymore to go back and check that, but that's what we did when we did the model.
Yeah, well, that'll kind of confirm what I was suspecting from what I could glean from the photos. So, I mean, that's what I'll do. I mean, and like you said, around the waterway and so forth, there'd be very little jogging because, I mean, it's almost straight at that point, very little turn.
Exactly.
Maybe an occasional plank, but other than that. But that'll make my job a lot easier than planking the upper deck.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, I guess we're pretty much done, unless anybody wants to just hang around and share some more stories. Wow, not everybody chime in at once.
I know, I have something too.
What is that?
So I have something too that I forgot to show you. So
oh yeah, please, Caelen.
So after Christmas, this was supposed to be a Christmas present, but it came late. This is my model plan of one of the destroyers, USS Wichita. This is actually a reprint of its original design. And here's so far the some of the rigging mass of the Constitution, my Constitution model. Got them right here.
I have quite a few on board and close-up photos of the Wichita that you can look at sometime.
perfect.
So we're
Well, I
hoping
guess
to
the
have water
question-
back this afternoon.
I'm sorry, Dave, I stepped on you.
We're hoping to have water back this afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have any water.
No,
Haven't
that's
had
right. Can
water
you,
since, haven't had we had no water from Monday afternoon to Thursday morning, and it's still not drinkable, entire city.
Mhm.
Wow, what happened?
A lot of beer then, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Christopher was telling us the story, but if you want to tell us, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I thought it was just your house. I didn't realize it was the whole city.
it was the whole city. The water pump flooded during a power outage during the storm last Sunday night.
Oh, wow.
And it's taken them a long time to get it back online. Made running a hospital very interesting.
What city do you live in?
Richmond.
Wow. No backup pump, huh?
Even the airport had no
full
water.
failure.
Wow.
No
Yeah.
bottled water on the shelves anywhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nope, they actually started bringing that in on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I ran into some people at one of the big box stores who were basically cleaning them out of water to take to Richmond. So
I have no idea. I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, and Richmond International Airport had no water. It's,
Yeah, they had potties outside.
John and
Good question.
John and Jean, we're looking at March. We're looking at March for the auction. Howard is scheduled to talk. Howard is scheduled to talk to us at the
so,
Howard is scheduled to talk to us at the March meeting on the state of the museum. Shall we move him or ask him to move or put him before the auction? Or what?
do you know
Howard
what he's-
wants to address us.
Yes. I was
I-
trying to get him for January, but he's gonna be out of town so much of January and February that we were gonna put him in March.
I say we put him before the meeting or before the
All right.
auction on
I
March.
think that'd be the best thing to do. And yes, and everybody else, and Greg, you have volunteered for a couple of meetings. Please give me your optional dates and et cetera, and I'll put you on the calendar. That's all I have.
Appreciate it. Thanks. So,
Sure.
where's lunch?
My
Come
refrigerator
on over, I'm
today.
making a big pot of chili.
I'll meet
Alrighty.
John at Plaza Azteca if he wants to join me.
Ah. Well, Ellen's here. I had to bring her.
Well, I don't know if you got my message. I was going to drop off those books if you
Well,
wanted
I'll-
them.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere today.
Yeah. See how the roads are.
And John, I've got these for you whenever you're ready. I'll try and get them to you at some point.
All right. Well, bring them Thursday.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I can do that. I'll talk to you before then anyway. All righty. Well, good to see everybody. Stay warm, and we will then reconvene next month.
Have a good one, everyone. It's great to see
good
you.
meeting.
Have a good month,
Looking forward to it.
everybody.
And I promise in
guys.
February, I
See you
will
later.
do the working waterman's boats unless we have a flood or something. That's been two or three put off so far, and I really apologize, but it has to be done in person.
Well,
Thanks all.
you
Have a
haven't
good day.
taken the
Happy
hint.
New Year.
All righty. See you guys.
See you.
See ya.
Okay, good night.
All right.